Yeah, so starting it off here with the top 5 cornerbacks of all time in Iowa State. There's a lot to choose from. And so far, me and AJ have been on par with every position group when it comes down to the number one pick.
Six
So
for
I'm
six.
curious: will the streak continue? Will me and him have the same number one, or will it end? To be determined. Starting it off with my number 5, I'm going to go with TJ Tampa. Earned all Big 12 honors in 2022. He's a third-team All-American in 2023. Had 9.5 tackles for a loss in his career, 3 interceptions, 19 pass deflections. But people say, well, he only had 3 interceptions. That's not a lot for a 3-4 year guy. Well, people didn't throw the ball his way. He was one of PFF's highest graded corners. This dude was an athlete. Alabama wanted him. They offered him a lot of money to transfer there. There's some other schools that really wanted him, and this was kind of in the pre to early emerging stages at NIL, so it really wasn't that big yet. But TJ Tampa, like I said, a physical corner, just a dog, elite. Really grew really fast. Grew into a starter, a multi-year starter under Matt Campbell, and I think other than the stats, just the physicality he played with, the ball knowledge, the football IQ that he had, and like I said, just that lockdown kind of mentality, and making quarterbacks not want to throw his way because he would either deflect it or pick it off. So number 5, TJ Tampa.
It's a great pick. More to come on him in just a second, but yeah, I love TJ Tampa. He's one of my favorite cornerbacks that Iowa State's ever had, just because of his size too. I think people forget how lengthy and langy he was, and being able to deflect passes. Yeah, took away that whole side of the field, as you said. So great choice. Number 5 for me is a guy that started as a special teamer for Matt Campbell, and turned into, I would argue, one of the most polished products of the Matt Campbell era. And that's Darian Porter. Darian Porter is number 5 on my list. Now, he played safety and corner, so you can kind of go back and forth on which position you want to put him at. I remember him most for being a cornerback, specifically that Cy-Hawk game and that very crucial game-changing interception a couple years ago in Iowa City. He started as a guy on punt returns, where he would be most known for blocking a punt, giving a crucial block, nothing glamorous, really, unless you have that great special teams play. Well, Darian Porter, basically from year 2 to year 3, took this massive jump. And you heard behind the scenes Matt Campbell talking about, yeah, Darian Porter's doing great stuff. Darian Porter's doing great stuff. Now, keep in mind, Matt Campbell would hype everybody up. he would hype the 5th string quarterback up as, this guy's got a lot of potential. So no one really thought anything of it until Darian Porter got on the field. Guys, this guy turned into an all Big 12 player. He turned into one of the best cornerbacks Iowa State's ever had. Similar to TJ Tampa, the stats aren't really there in terms of, he had this many interceptions, he has this. But he was a guy in the secondary you could trust, you could rely on, who could make the open field tackle and could cover. And that's what I think really made him what ended up him being a NFL prospect, is because he could cover and tackle in space. He's built like a taller linebacker. And so the fact that he was able to play corner at a high level enough to get drafted in the 3rd round of the NFL draft. I hate that he's on the Raiders. I feel like all my favorite Cyclones are on AFC West rivals, but it is what it is. Super excited for him. So cool to see him get drafted so high in the NFL draft. But yeah, he's one of my favorites. I think that, the most of the memories that Cyclone fans have of him are on special teams. And that's what makes his story so cool, is he literally changed positions halfway through his career and became an NFL draft pick because of it. So number 5, Darian Porter.
Yeah, and honestly, that take could get some criticism because, like you said, the stats just really aren't there. But he's a guy where if he saw the field earlier, or maybe it was just a developmental thing where he just wasn't fully, like you said, polished or developed until year 4 of Matt Campbell. But yeah, I just remember him for his speed. I mean, he could fly. Like he was an athlete. We were in like a 10, or maybe it was even in the 9s, like a 9.7 or a 10.2 40-yard. I mean, it was crazy. He was super fast. Yeah, excuse me, and really made a big impact on that 2024 team. Had a blocked field goal against Kansas State. That game helped get Iowa State to their first 10-win season. And yeah, like you mentioned, the Cyhawk game had 2 interceptions. So great, honestly, a solid pick. Like you said, in terms of just build, physique, kind of just looking at stuff purely from a cornerback standpoint. Moving on to number 4 for me. Number 4 is going to be LaMarcus Hicks. He's a first team All Big 12 in 2005. Led the league in interceptions that year with 5. And I think what most Cyclone fans remember most for was his 2005 Cyhawk game, pick 6 to lead Iowa State to an upset victory over Iowa. Had 55 tackles in his 2-year tenure with the Cyclones. So pretty solid number 4 pick there, LaMarcus Hicks.
Yeah, the cornerback safety discussion is interesting. So I actually would put LaMarcus Hicks as a safety, but his cornerback stats are incredible as well. So I'll be curious to see who else is on your list that kind of plays both those positions. Because I didn't put him on this list because I would have him as, spoiler alert, a top 3 safety in Iowa State history. But yeah, LaMarcus Hicks, is an absolutely great pick if we're just talking about his cornerback stats over there. Number 4 for me is TJ Tampa. You mentioned him earlier. Has turned into one of the greatest, defensive prospects Iowa State's ever had. Again, another high draft pick for Matt Campbell in that era of time. So I love what TJ represented. His dad was super cool too. I don't know if you ever saw his dad on social media, but he was always retweeting stuff and tweeting out about the
shout out Mark Tampa.
Yeah. So super cool guy. Just really love what TJ represented. Who knows what the Cyclones would be if they had some help behind TJ Tampa, because you think about it, that Hunter Decker's year, they went 4-8, the year after, or the year of they snapped the Cyhawk series. But they had one of the best defenses in the country. And so it was just like this. Nobody really knew what Iowa State football was. And then by that point, TJ's, draft stock was rising so much that he literally couldn't come back, or he would risk, his draft stock falling. So,
yeah.
Who knows if the gambling stuff doesn't happen, if TJ decides to come back for his, I think that would be his senior season, what would have happened to that 2023 team, because Hunter Deckers was really talented. And I think we forget that because it just immediately turned into the Rocco Beck story and Connor Moberly and JJ Cole and all this different stuff. But yeah, a super fun team to talk about that people just really trash because they went 4-8. That 2023 team was going to be loaded before the gambling stuff happened. So TJ Tampa number 4.
Yeah. Number 3 is going to be Leonard Johnson. Played from 2008 to 2011. Another all Big 12 corner. Started as a true freshman, so he had a really full, a lot on his plate from the get-go kind of career. He went undrafted, but his NFL career was really, really cool. Played with the Bucks, the Bills, the Cardinals, had, was a very versatile corner there and had played a really big impact on all those teams. So had a really good NFL career. Finished his career at Iowa State with 6 interceptions and 15 pass deflections. So overall, just a really solid corner there at number 3, Leonard Johnson.
Great pick. More to come on him in just a second. Like you said, great NFL career, and yeah, I love Leonard. Number 3 for me is one of I mentioned Vibe guys a couple weeks ago with Damon Tucker, and just what he brought to Iowa State football, just from a vibe standpoint of being this big dude that didn't really do too much, but at the same time was like an awesome person to have in a Cyclone uniform. Number 3 is similar for me. But he also backed it up by becoming an All Big 12 player his senior year, and that's Brian Peavy. Brian Peavy is one of my favorite Cyclone corners. It's different than TJ Tampa, because TJ Tampa was just a polished product already. He already had the talent. Brian Peavy's 5'10", 5'9", like was not this like jump off the page type of talent. And even his freshman, sophomore year, I don't know if you remember this, Owen, dude was getting torched. Like he was borderline almost like a liability at corner. And that was during the beginning of the Campbell era, 2015, 2016. And so I was like, okay, this makes a lot of sense. Like, Iowa State's not very good anyways. Of course, we have corners that are getting torched. 2017, 2018, Brian Peavy said enough of this. Like, I'm just going to completely transform my career into a lockdown corner as a 5'9" guy. And he turned into one of the best defenders of that 2017 Iowa State team. Like, I don't think that's a hyperbolic statement to say. Iowa State had a lot of great players, Joel Lanning, Marcel Spears, a lot of great guys on that team. Brian Peavy held down that back end of the defense. And again, just because of his size, no one really thought too much of it until you saw in game him make the open field tackle, him knock down that pass, him get that interception, right? He's one of my favorite guys. Again, an all Big 12 player his senior year. And I think for him to be a part of the transformation of Iowa State, we've talked a lot about through this list of guys that helped transform Iowa State, and the Brock Purdy's and the David Montgomerys and the Breece Halls and the Joel Lannings. Brian Peavy's right there in that conversation too. Part of that first kind of tenure of Matt Campbell to make Iowa State respectable again. And I think for Peavy in making himself respectable again as well, going from that liability to that lockdown corner was super cool as well. So number 3 for me is Brian Peavy.
Yeah. And honestly, that's not a bad pick at number 3. I remember him like you said for just a lockdown corner, very physical, and played a big role on, along with Marcel Spears, Willie Harvey, all those guys in that 2017, 2018 team, that defense. I was so young but really good. So yeah, a great pick there at number 3. Moving on to our top 2. This is where it could start to get real interesting. These are guys that you have not mentioned yet. So I'm almost thinking that we're still going to be in sync for our number 1 pick. But number 2 for me is going to be Barry Hill. Okay. Barry Hill was a player in the 70s, set the Big 8 record, set Big 8 records, but has the all-time interception record at Iowa State with 21 career interceptions. So he leads that. But like the defensive linemen we hit on, the linebackers, in the 1970s, just to reiterate, Iowa State was a really good defensive team in the 70s. And so Barry Hill could be number 1 in some people's lists, but number 2 for me. Led the conference and ranked nationally and stuff, had 9 interceptions in a single season. And he died very young, only at the age of 57, so rest in peace to him. But great player, great athlete, and for all the older Iowa State fans who might have had the chance to watch him, or if anyone has any tape or highlights of him, send them over, because that'd be really fun to watch. So Barry Hill, number 2.
Do we need to have a distinction between the 70s Iowa State Cyclones, who was a safety and who was a corner? Because I also have Barry Hill as a safety.
That's so weird, because it says when I looked his stats up and everything, it says he's a corner online. So I have no idea.
Dude,
I don't know
what it was, but with him and LaMarcus Hicks, I remember Hicks playing corner, but then I look up his stats and he's listed as a safety. So
that's so weird, because I look him up right now on the Iowa State or ESPN, it just says cornerbacks. I don't know, but hey, there's a lot to go around. There's a lot of variation in corners and safety, so we'll be fine. Yes. Yeah.
So to be clear, Barry Hill and LaMarcus Hicks. Maybe we just won't do a safety top 5 because we're overlapping so much. But Barry Hill and LaMarcus Hicks are top 3 for me in safeties. So they're all-time secondary guys. I just don't have them listed as corners. So if we're doing specifically corners from the research that I saw, that's who I would have. But LaMarcus Hicks, Barry Hill, they are not being neglected by me whatsoever. So number 2 for me is actually your number 3, Leonard Johnson. He was a guy that you mentioned, his NFL career, but his Iowa State career is one that is super cool because he became an all Big 12 talent on a team that was, just buns, just terrible. He was part of that Austin Arnott, Alexander Robinson kind of, era of Cyclone football that some people like to forget. Some people have good memories of. I like to hold the Insight Bowl, Minnesota game kind of vibes, and I like to forget about all the 70-7 Baylor losses and all that different stuff. But Leonard Johnson, Just it's the meme of the Ferrari underneath the shack house. I mean, that was Leonard Johnson. I mean, there wasn't really anybody else around him. All due respect to Jesse Smith and all those guys that were 4-year Cyclones. But yeah, he turned into an NFL like borderline superstar. Like he was just when you get signed by 3 different teams in your NFL career, I mean, you're doing something right. So yeah, I appreciate him. I appreciate him also because back in the early preview magazine days, when you had an Iowa State player like being like nominated for something or his picture on a national kind of topic, it was like, wow. And I remember Leonard Johnson being on the cover of one of the preview magazines one year, just being like, we made it. Iowa State made it to the national stage. And, obviously we've come so far since then, but, yeah, Leonard Johnson was one of my guys that I would put in that all-time discussion. Obviously not number 1 because of someone that I hope we're both thinking of. But yeah, he's number 2 on the list for me.
Yeah. Number 1, and I swear if this is another guy who says who's a safety, I don't know what to say, but Ellis Hobbs is going to be number 1 for me.
7 for 7.
Played corner from 01 to 04, but also played this. He played huge roles in the special teams. And dude was just an athlete. For only being 5'9" as well. First team All Big 12 in 2004. 9 career interceptions. Pick 6. Long NFL career with the Patriots and Eagles. So kind of like Leonard Johnson, just a tenured player. Had that full year experience at Iowa State, and then went on to have a really good NFL career. So tons of talent, tons of of expertise and ability to play his position and play it really good. So Ellis Hobbs is unanimously number 1. I assume AJ, your number 1 is also
Ellis Hobbs.
Yeah.
Ellis Hobbs.
Yeah.
Tom Brady wouldn't be Tom Brady without Ellis Hobbs. Hot take? I mean, that's more a joke than anything else. But Ellis Hobbs was part of these dynastic teams that the Patriots had. And he was like CB1. It's not like we're talking about Ellis Hobbs as a third-string corner. Like, he was CB1 for the Bill Belichick, Tom Brady Patriots. So he might be one of the only people on the list that I put so high because of what he did in the NFL. I know it's mainly what they did at Iowa State, and he was great at Iowa State too.
He did a lot at Iowa State too.
Yeah, I think like prior to Brock Purdy, prior to even Breece Hall, I would say, even though Breece Hall hasn't had, team success, Ellis Hobbs was the Cyclone that like everyone knew about in the NFL. You think about the Sunday Night Football when they do the starting lineups and, they say what college they're from. It was like Ellis Hobbs, Iowa State was the guy as part of one of the greatest dynasties in sports history. So I think putting him number 1 goes far beyond just what he did at Iowa State. He was a centerpiece of that defense. And we're talking like Teddy Bruschi, Rodney Harrison, like Richard Seymour. I mean, there were some like Hall of Fame guys. And unfortunately, Ellis didn't have the stats to eventually get to the NFL Hall of Fame. But he was still part of a team that, was, in my opinion, one of the greatest teams ever in that Patriots era. And so, yeah, as you mentioned, his Big 12 stats speak for themselves. And just what he did for Iowa State and putting them on the map during that Seneca Wallace era, and then making the most of it in the NFL as well. So 7 for 7. We had the same number 1 throughout the entire time period. I think it's going to be safe to just not do safeties so we don't cause more confusion. So we will put out a tweet of our top 5 safeties at some point. But Barry Hill, LaMarcus Hicks, you get all the respect from me. I just didn't have you listed as a corner, but you get all the respect from me. But that is our top 5 Iowa State football players. I'm sure we'll do top 5 Iowa State basketball players at some point soon. But we're going to have a lot of football talk to get into in the coming weeks. But yeah, leave your comments down below about what you think about the top 5 list. Who's too high? Who's too low? Who do we miss? I mean, we just went through 7 different position groups. So if we missed anybody in those 7 different position groups, please let us know. As Owen said, please send us highlights of these older dudes. But yeah, I did not have on my bingo card that we were going to get the same number 1 through every different position group. How do you feel now that you're on the back end of these top 5 lists?
I mean, that's great. That just shows our ball knowledge of Iowa State players. Even though we were, there was a lot of guys who we weren't alive to watch live and get that experience. That just doing that research and kind of putting 2 and 2 together of, okay, maybe this guy didn't have the best stats, but his Iowa State lore, his the fan base and the love that they have for him. Could have him at number 1, could have him at number 3, and so on. So I think it's great. This has been fun. Like AJ said, safeties to be determined because we had like three corner. We don't know. We have no. We was just really really odd situation there. And specialists might not get to. We might just do an all special teams segment. I don't know. We'll see, but that's to be determined.